Hello, this is Tim Law with Planet Forward Coaching, and always encouraging your self-reliance in your life and your career. If you'll develop some people skills, a good work ethic, a good skill that's marketable, and be a team player, you cannot help but do extremely well as far as this country's concerned. So big thank you to over 440 people that have subscribed to this channel, Planet Forward Coaching. If you haven't already, please do so. I have a really neat guy here with me. Actually, he's my brother-in-law, so I am totally biased in his regard. A gentleman named Don Denoncourt that lives down in just outside Richmond, Virginia, if I still have it right. So welcome, Don. Tell us about your story here.
Oh gosh, my story. Well, the story pertinent to this podcast is about my martial arts training through the years. I had, I think you have particular interest because of this book that I published
Yes.
just recently. And I published that book to honor my instructor who passed away in 2015. He was so unique. Everybody who has trained in the martial arts seems to believe that they have a great instructor, but this guy was a little bit different. He was a Korean War veteran. He was honored. He had multiple awards, but then he was captured by the Chinese and was in a Chinese prisoner of war camp for some time. When he came out, he entered a Buddhist temple and became a Buddhist priest. So he was a different individual, and he was one of the pioneers of teaching. He had the first public karate school in Pennsylvania.
Wow. And what was his name again, Don?
Ralph Lindquist.
Okay.
Lindquist.
Okay. And you had the privilege and honor to train under this expert. And how did that impact you and what you were doing?
Well, it impacted me greatly. I've said before that when a teenager is at a certain age, he realizes that his father is not the hero that they thought they were, and they need to be replaced by something. Mm-hmm. And that replacement, if they're lucky, is a good coach. Mm-hmm. And for me, that good coach was Ralph Lindquist, and so it was incredible to be working out with men and working out with this man who is tough as all get out, and yet very religious or devout in terms of his Buddhism.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And now where did these workouts take place? Where did you meet with him?
Well, I had started out under one of his students, Charles Miller, and I worked out with him when I was 13 till I was about 15. And as soon as I was able to drive, I went to his instructors, which was in Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. So I'd go up there several days a week and train at his dojo up there.
Yeah, and what would you say some of the main life lessons that this gentleman taught you?
Well, keep your back straight, keep your chin in, and keep your head about yourself. About the same kind of lessons you'd learn from football or wrestling or other contact sports, where you just have to grin and bear it. I kind of at a loss for saying something real incredible, but it's really just the idea of putting your best foot forward and doing your absolute best, whatever that may be. When I first started, I was not athletic at all. So mm-hmm. It took me an awful lot of work to become mediocre. And then from there, I just kept climbing and kept working at things.
Yeah.
So he was always there as an example.
Sure. Well, obviously, as time goes on, you develop more and more of that muscle memory, especially if you're under, a real good instructor as you were, What would you say as far as what part of these did you pass on as far as your sons were concerned?
Oh, not too much. My sons were, I had realized that I did the martial arts almost too much as a teenager. And I think high school sports, or high school band for that matter, the organized high school athletics and other activities are really good for social skills. Mm-hmm. And, when I was 16 years old, I was training with men. They were 20s and 30 years old. Some of them were state policemen or whatever. These were hardcore men. So I didn't necessarily get the high school social skills out of that I probably should have. So when my boys were young, we had them gravitate towards, they did soccer, then they got into football, and then one got into wrestling, one got into track. And I ended up taking them to jujitsu because I couldn't find a really good martial arts instructor around town here, and I didn't want to just train them myself. They needed to have that feel of a school or a club. And jujitsu was an awful lot of fun. They got really good at that.
Yeah, I remember you were saying, I guess, with one of the guys over there in a wrestling match, and they threw on kind of a Brazilian jiu-jitsu move or whatever off their back, and I guess turned it around to a pin, if I recall the story right, or almost got a pin.
Yeah, regularly. He would, there's something called the guard, which doesn't work well for wrestling because your shoulder blades are almost touching the mat, and that, of course, is considered a pin. So the guard is you're laying on your back and you have him squeezed between your two thighs, and you really have good control. And these fellows would get between his legs and he would hip switch, and all of a sudden he'd be on top of them. And then he always used the same move to pin them. But that happened. I told him he would lose half his matches and win half his matches, and that's what happened. And he lost his matches most of the time because he was in that guard.
Yeah.
And he was in complete control in terms of jujitsu, but the referee saw two shoulder blades touching the mat and smacked the mat.
Yeah. And which son was that, Don?
That was Tyler.
Tyler. Okay. Good. Yeah. So you got Josh, Tyler, and Jacob there. So what, as far as the things that you learned from this and everything, how did you apply it? Tell us a little bit about your work and career as well.
Well, I got into programming, and I got that after kind of dropping out for school. I decided to go back to school and become a programmer, and I had such a good work ethic from the martial arts training that it was really easy. I didn't see anything was prevented me from moving forward and doing the best I could, and continue doing that. And because I was a teacher, I like to do seminars, and I did seminars all across the country. And I did publish 4 or 5 technical books as well that did quite well.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, and I always use this, the kind of what you're saying there after doing martial arts, like the great Dan Gable said, after doing wrestling, almost anything else in life is easy. And I assume that's the same thing as far as martial arts is concerned. And one of the things I try to encourage any of the kids I'm involved with is, I'm going to pretty much parallel what you said, and that is you're pushing out that quit point. Everybody's got a quit point. And yet when you push yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, as far as the scenario with a sport or whatever, it really does translate really, really well into real life, where you have to push it up with your life and career and job.
Yeah, I like that, the quit point. I haven't heard that before. I remember as a teenager, I was concerned about getting struck or hit or getting hurt. And as I became a late teenager, 18, 19, I got to the point where if I was sparring someone and they were getting a little bit too aggressive, and very often this is without a hand or foot gear, if they would whack me pretty hard, I would just laugh at them, because basically they just said, this is what our standards are. I can hit you hard, you can hit me hard. So I would just laugh at them and end up having fun. And I'm sure you were the same way yourself with the wrestling. If they want to get tough, I'm ready.
Yeah, you have to be you have to assume it's going to get pretty physical, because that's kind of the nature of the sport and everything. And yeah, definitely would agree with you there. And now when you have these particular matches, what's the time periods, or how does that work?
Oh my gosh, that varies so much. And if you look at, I published an article, a blog post called "This Ain't Kitty Karate." It's talked. I mean, I did this in the 70s. We had ex-military people, people that were in Vietnam or Korea, that are teaching and fighting. In the 90s, things are different. In the 2000s, things are different. You can't draw blood. You can't get bruise people, which is silly. I imagine wrestling if you had those rules, or football.
Right.
So the point fighting they would have that I did an awful lot of. They would have you start, and then as soon as a clean blow was hit and pulled, because you're supposed to pull upon impact, then they would score a point. With the kickboxing, it was just like boxing rounds. And most people are familiar with seeing the kickbox. You just kick above the waist, and you just go the full rounds.
Right, right. What if you could give any advice or suggestions to, let's say, some younger people now, teens, young adults, regarding your background or anything as far as life, work, career, any particular advice that you would kind of give these young people?
I would really say find an activity, whether that's band, or, we have a lot of band people in our family, whether
Sure.
it's band or football or wrestling or tennis. Find a coach that you look up to, someone that can lead you and mentor you. You really need to find a good coach. And if you don't have it, that's not a good place for you to be. In any sport or any activity, you're going to have bad coaches or bad teachers or poor mentors. So find a good mentor and make sure you follow them.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense for sure. Any last second thoughts here, Don? This has been wonderful, and we'll wrap it up here in a minute. And please stick around for a minute after we shut it off. But any
Okay.
last minute thoughts? Hold your book up one more time, please.
Oh.
Okay, so we can see that. Just, yeah, Gentleman Warrior Sensei, and the gentleman's name, the author again. I know it was you, but I mean the gentleman that you wrote about.
Ralph Lindquist.
Ralph Lindquist. Okay, very good. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that that got out there. So any other last second thoughts here that you have?
The last thoughts are, just be busy, have an activity where you can try to improve yourself, and surround yourself with good people, a good mentor, good mentors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally makes sense, and absolutely agree with that, because again, kind of the Tony Robbins philosophy of it is positive modeling, where you're doing something exactly the way somebody else that is very good at it has accomplished something. If they can do it, you can do it as well. But like you say, that mentor or model, that coach, becomes real important, that you're making sure you're getting the highest possible quality that you can. So, well, thank you, Don. This has been great. I really appreciate it. And just stick around for a minute or two, okay?
Okay.
Thank you.